we've got some names to start scouting out. And Mike, I was excited to learn that you've already scouted at least one new player.
Okay, so after Wemby, who's considered a center, I don't know if he'll play center in the NBA, but obviously at 7'5", that's where they put him. Well, I didn't watch a lot of Duke basketball. They weren't a very good team, so it's not like I don't watch a lot of college basketball, but you feel like after a season you might have caught like 4 Duke games just because they are on ESPN. And I can't remember really going into a Duke game, watching it, and then being intrigued with a player. So I wanted to look at this kid, Derek Lively, who's a 7'1" center. The Mavs need tremendous help in protecting the rim and rebounding.
They do.
He's projected more in the late teens, early 20s, but let me look up this kid, and the Mavericks might trade down in this draft. Maybe they love him so much that they would take him at 10. I wasn't impressed at 10 at all. He's not, to me, unless his workouts were amazing. He's kind of weak at 7'1". He has a great ability to block a shot. Rebounding, he can get pushed around pretty easily to not really get rebounds. Like he's moved around
for his
easy.
Size.
Right. At 7'1", you just expect you're 7'1". Like you're going to get 8 to 10 rebounds a game. I
agree with that.
So Derek Lively, I did watch him this morning, and there's some things to like in a development standpoint, but would not consider him at all at number 10.
He has no offensive game right now. I know people will get it's the same thing we talked about with Hardy, even though he fell way down, is Lively was at the top of the recruiting class. And I know that's hard for some people to break away.
He's literally number 1.
Yes. Because I know some people were like, is he going to go back to Duke? And everyone's like, no, because he was number 1.
Yeah.
So somebody will end up picking him.
They did show AAU stuff that I watched, and he did make 3-pointers in AAU, but then they also showed how bad of misses he had. It's like he's intriguing because he showed the ability to make threes at AAU senior year, but he didn't make, I think he made 2 3-pointers his whole time.
Yeah.
So
something like that.
There's potential there, but I probably can't reach that far at 10.
Now, go ahead.
And he's the number 2 center in this draft.
Have you watched or scouted Anthony Black from Arkansas?
I watched him play quite a bit at Duncanville. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I watched him play quite a bit at Arkansas. I'm fine with him at 10. He can't shoot to save his life.
Okay.
Maybe it's his hair is in his way. He does have a lot of ability. His ball handling skills at 6'7", they're really good. I can't put him at Luka standards. Luka plays slower, but his 6'7" dribbling ability and seeing the court and stuff like that is very high level for his age.
Defensive,
solid.
Yeah, okay.
Has the ability to be a really good defender, high energy guy, good attitude guy. He just struggles with shots, like making threes, and at times finishing at the rim.
Okay. All right.
He can dunk.
I'm just watching him. I was like, man, if I'm not asking him to shoot 3, if I'm not,
he has to develop that.
Then can he and Hardy on the court be a good team together, or a good tandem with Luka? Because he looks like a guy that can cut to the basket with a lot of speed and size. Right. And that could be something that's, I just think, more beneficial than what Powell does.
He would be a good pick at 10. I mean, he's not, he's more of a guard.
More guard, yeah.
Or wingish than he is anything of a power forward or a big guy.
I'd rather have him on the court than Dwight Powell.
What? No.
Oh.
Sorry, that was not at you.
Sorry.
From the 682, I just always feel bad breaking people's hearts and dreams. Keep 10. Can the Mavs package Hardy and Josh Green Hardaway and Josh Green? If it's Hardy and Josh Green, I think maybe you could do something with that.
Hardaway's a move down thing, just so people understand. This would be like this. We'll give you the 10th pick in Hardaway, and you give us the 22nd pick.
Exactly.
Like, that's how you would have to move Hardaway. You'd have to go negative in the draft just to get rid of him.
Now, I know Bobby has brought up Cam Whitmore out of Villanova. Personally, I still think that the Mavericks are going to be interested in Grady Dick out of Kansas, hence the highlight. The person I am interested in...
I watched some Cam Whitmore, by the way.
Okay. You like?
Yes. He ain't going to be there at 10. In fact, I could see him going 4. I'm not saying he will go 4, but I will be shocked if he gets to 10.
So, obviously, you got plenty of time for things to change. Early mocks have him around 8, but he's got a lot of variation, just like Taylor Hendricks out of Central Florida. Like, if you're looking for a big, now you might consider him more of a power forward, but like, we have a general lack of big depth on this team. Is Taylor Hendricks is another person that I've seen go anywhere between 4 and 10. So if you're interested in somebody like that, I think Taylor Hendricks, Grady Dick, Cam Whitmore are all potentially viable names for the Mavericks, because the way I think about it, I don't know if you're in the same spot, is Wemby, Miller, Scoot go 1, 2, and 3 in some variation on 2 and 3. I think the Thompson twins will go in the top 10. And so there's
Walker. You say Walker in there? Out of Houston.
He's supposedly going way ahead of 10.
He's another one that has vacillated in these mock drafts. Walker can go as high as 4.
Okay.
But I like NBA draft.
Doesn't have him consistently in the top 10?
They have him at 12.
Okay.
And so
interesting.
He's over the place.
I think the Thompson twins, one of them might be there at 10. And I'm not saying that's good.
Osar, I believe. I think Amen is the higher.
I'm struggling with what I haven't watched a lot of them. I did watch a little bit yesterday in between jobs. And I'm like, oh, I got to see more of this, because this is not as impressive as like, hey, these two twins are top 5 picks. I'm not so sure about that. I will see a guy I'm really intrigued with. I don't think the Mavs will draft him because of this, because they do want they want to have Kyrie back. Will he? Sure. I hope. Here's what I hope. I hope by the draft they know if Kyrie wants to be back or not.
Okay.
Because let's just say he's trying to get to other teams. I do think that puts guards in play in this draft. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If you're staying at 10.
Of course, yeah.
I still am really intrigued with Cason Wallace out of Richardson. I think he is to me, in a weird way, I think he can be the modern day Joe Dumars to Luka. Luka doesn't want to play defense. This kid, Cason Wallace, wants to play great defense. He doesn't seem to want to have the ball to score 30 a game, but he can I think he can develop into a really nice 20-point scorer. You have Hardy. If you have Hardy and you have Kyrie Irving and you have Luka, it doesn't make tons of sense to draft him at 10.
Right.
But if you know Kyrie's leaving, let's just say you're getting a big guy for Kyrie in a trade because he doesn't want to come back to Dallas. He wants to go to another team. I do think Cason Wallace, his premium defensive skill set with ball handling and scoring ability, I think he would be the right type of mindset to play with Luka.
What do you think about a Marcus Smart comp on that?
I think that's a decent comp.
Like
hopefully he doesn't, flop as much, even though it does work.
I mean, Marcus Smart did also win Defensive Player of the Year. But
I know.
Wallace is somebody that just college, holy cow, the highs and the lows for him were quite astonishing, but he was another super highly rated person coming out of high school. And I think that is somebody that would be more likely than like Hendricks, for example, or Whitmore, or potentially even Wallace to be available at pick number 10. And somebody did ask this, and I appreciate the question. So if we trade the pick, we don't have to give it to the Knicks. No, that was just if that's how it fell. Like that's your pick to do with what you like in the weird NBA way.
Now the pick goes to 2024. It goes to the Knicks, still top 10 protected.
Yep.
Which means you cannot trade your 2024 first round pick, and I believe you can't trade your 2025 first round pick.
That is correct.
You can only trade your 2026 first round pick, and I don't know how many more.
You can't, though, because didn't you already trade off your 2027 pick?
I think it's 2029.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure you traded your 2029.
Okay, so you
unprotected.
Okay. So basically, Corey, you have to wait them out for 2 years of being terrible, and then they would get a second round pick.
Oh.
But that means, Corey, okay, hold on. I saw the look in your face. That means you would have to be in the top 10 for the next 2 years, which means you'd be awful for the next 2 years.
But I get top 10 picks for the next 2 years?
You do.
Like, technically, that should make me a better team.
I think unfortunately, if you do that, which I'm going to tell you this, I think there's a 33% possibility the Mavs are picking in the top 10 again next year. I think there's a 66, 67% chance, which is way higher than 33. So when people take me there's a third of a chance you're picking again around 8, 9, or 10. I do think that's how bad this team can kind of look on a piece of paper if things go really bad this offseason. I think you start getting into the Portland Trailblazers, Damian Lillard teams. And you're like, yeah, we got Damian Lillard. Well, guess what? You keep finishing somewhat as one of the worst 10 teams in the NBA. And I think that the Mavericks are at a crucial spot right here where we're goofing off about it, but I do think, Kevin, that there's a possibility we're in this situation again next year.
And I totally understand. I just want to answer this one person from the 682. What you're saying is the Mavs are completely effed until 2030. I'm not saying this is the likely outcome, but let's say you pick whoever you want, Walker, Whitmore, Hendricks, whoever. He turns out to be a hit because there have been plenty of excellent draft picks between 8, 13, and then Green and Hardy continue to develop. But that's a lot of ifs, and that's why we were always pushing for Hardy and Green to play more. Green for multiple years, so you had a better idea of what you had. But yeah, if Green, Hardy develop, and Hendricks turns out to be a badass, then you'll be just fine.
I think
that's
Hardy's going to develop.
A lot of ifs.
I do think Hardy's going to develop into something.
Which should be great.
Green still is too inconsistent for me. Hardy needs to get his conditioning right. Like once that happens, I think then you'll see a bit of a better. You have a scorer. It's not Jalen Brunson. When it comes to your ability to score, I do wonder: is Hardy a better defender than Brunson?
Not necessarily, but
he has the ability because he's a little bit taller and longer.
Hardy can be a better scorer than Brunson if. Just hear me out before this sentence is over. If you went on absolute optimum maximum potential, but like Brunson has clearly proved it way more at the NBA level.
Just think about Brunson and Hardy real quick on this. Brunson would be going into his junior year at Villanova. Hardy's going into his second year in the NBA.
Okay.
Like if you think about the development of Brunson, how long it took, because you go all 4 years to college, and then it takes you kind of 3 years in the NBA to find yourself. That's year 6 of Hardy in the NBA.
Okay. All right. I do have the other question too, calendar-wise. What's next? Is there, because will we find out about Kyrie first, or will we find about who's drafted first?
Drafted.
Okay.
Think about Jalen Brunson. We found out on draft night the OS situation.
Yeah.
If you understood what was happening,
gotcha.
You're like, OS, the Knicks are trading everything because they know they're getting Brunson. Nobody would ever do that. Nobody would quit a draft without knowing what they were getting. And they knew it was over. They had Brunson that night. We didn't know from fan perspective behind the scenes, but as it was falling apart, we're like, crap, we're done with Brunson. He's going to the Knicks. Now, I don't think a team will do this like Phoenix because they can't financially. They'd have to trade Booker and like Kevin Durant, and they're not. But we won't know on draft night about Kyrie Irving, but we should have a decent idea through the rumors if he wants to sign back with Dallas or he's strongly looking at other teams.
And then somebody asks you if you can trade up. Theoretically, no, but that happens all the time, and you get that weird thing where they stand up with the Mavs jersey, and you're like, I'm never going to play for the Mavs.